Today, we are driving into one of the most mysterious and honestly fascinating stories from the Quran. It's a tale packed with angels, forbidden magic, and a divine test that took place in the ancient city of Babylon. So, let's get into the story of Harut and Marut.
I want you to just think about this for a second. What if some knowledge isn't really meant to empower us, but instead its very existence is a trial of our character?
You know, we usually think of knowledge as this amazing gift, something we should always seek out. But this story, it completely flips that idea on its head. What if some powerful knowledge is actually put in front of us as a trial, a major challenge to our faith and the choices we make? And here's the twist that makes this whole story so unforgettable. The ones teaching this dangerous knowledge, they weren't demons or some shadowy figures. No, they were angels, sent by God himself. That right there sets the stage for a really deep lesson about temptation and responsibility. Now, to really get why these angels were sent down, we have to rewind the clock. We need to go back to the time of the magnificent prophet Solomon. His reign was filled with miracles, but it also became the source of a very dangerous lie. I mean, Prophet Solomon's kingdom was unlike anything the world had ever seen. Allah had blessed him with these incredible abilities. He could command the wind, he had control over the jinn, and he could literally talk to animals. These weren't tricks, they were divine gifts, clear signs of his piety. But after he passed away, a rumor started to spread. It was a lie, whispered by devils, and it started to take root. They claimed that Solomon's incredible powers didn't come from God at all, but from sorcery. This lie began to twist how people thought, and it opened the door for actual magic to spread. And it was right into this situation, in the great city of Babylon, which was a huge center for knowledge and soon magic, that Allah sent two angels, Harut and Marut, on a very, very unusual mission. So where do we get this story from? Well, it comes directly from this verse in the Quran. It's the verse that sets the record straight about the lies against Solomon and introduces us to our two main characters, the angels, Harut and Marut. Just think about how much is packed into this one verse. It tells us a few key things. First, Solomon was innocent. Second, the devils were the ones spreading corruption. And, most importantly for our story, it shows that Harut and Marut were sent as a divine test, a test that came with a serious, direct warning. And this was their constant message. They didn't mince words. Before they taught anyone a single thing, they made the stakes absolutely clear. We are only a trial. They were basically saying, look, learning this comes with a huge spiritual risk. If you go forward, you are risking your faith. So what was this knowledge that was so dangerous? Well, the Quran actually gives a very specific and pretty heartbreaking example of just how destructive it could be. Out of all the things this magic could possibly do, the Quran zeroes in on its ability to tear apart the sacred bond of marriage. This just goes to show how seriously Islam views the family unit and how truly evil it is to try and break it apart with deception and these kinds of means. And here's a really crucial point. While people were learning these dark arts, thinking they were gaining some incredible power, the Quran adds this critical clarification. No spell, no magic, no harm can ever happen unless Allah allows it to. The ultimate control always belongs to God. So, this brings us to the biggest question in the entire story. If this knowledge was so bad, why on earth would God allow angels to teach it in the first place? And the answer to that really gets to the heart of our purpose as human beings. It's the question that's probably on your mind right now, right? Why introduce this poison into the world? Well, the story of Harut and Marut is at its core this amazing explanation of how divine wisdom and our own free will interact. It kind of boils down to this. Faith doesn't really mean much if you don't have a choice. By presenting this situation with a crystal clear warning from the angels, people were given a very real choice. Listening to the warning was an act of faith. Ignoring it was an act of disbelief. The choice itself is what gave their faith meaning.
So this story from ancient Babylon, it's not just a cool piece of history. Nope, it is packed with lessons that are just as relevant for us, right here, right now.
So, what are the big takeaways? Well, first, we learn that knowledge itself can be a moral test. It's all about how we use it. Second, true faith isn't passive, it's an active choice. The story also reminds us that while, yes, harmful forces do exist, they are never outside of God's ultimate control. It reinforces that the family unit is sacred. And finally, it's a huge warning to be careful of anyone claiming to have secret powers and to put our trust only in God. When you really think about it, this story isn't about some epic battle between angels and people. It's really an allegory for the battle that goes on inside each of us every single day. The choice between truth and lies, between faith and temptation, between patience and wanting a shortcut. And that is the final, powerful moral of the story. The people back then were looking for power in all the wrong places, in forbidden arts. But this story reminds us that real, true success and peace, they come from a much purer source, a strong, steady connection with God.
So I'll leave you with this to chew on. Is the story of Harut and Marut just a historical warning to stay away from magic? Or is it something more? A timeless mirror reflecting our own temptations with power and the incredible strength it takes to choose faith instead. It's definitely something worth thinking about. Thanks for tuning in.